Today is Friday, January 12th. We're going to go around the bases with our MLB insider at the New York Post. He is none other than Jon Heyman. Jon, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing well, and we're going to start off with our top story, as always, the New York Yankees. Yesterday, Jon, it was kind of a slow off season. It felt like after the Juan Soto news for the Yanks. And then yesterday, you had arbitration deals come down. You got that news. Juan Soto signs the largest arbitration deal ever at $31 million. But lo and behold, the Yankees decided to go ahead and sign Marcus Stroman. So I wanted to get your reaction and kind of break down this deal. Why did the Yankees decide Marcus Stroman was a guy they wanted to bring into this rotation?
Yeah, I think they felt that Marcus Stroman was a good deal at 2 years, $37 million plus the vesting option, and they investigated some more of the top tier options, and they weren't really making any progress on it. We had reported in the Post that they had made an offer for Blake Snell, the 2023 National League Cy Young winner, and they were very far apart in terms of the dollars. With Snell, Cease, they don't want to give up Spencer Jones and the big prospect package that the White Sox want. Montgomery, I think they're just not that confident. They feel that he probably wants to go back to Texas, and if not, he'll have many, many, many other options. So they want to get something on the board where they have a somewhat viable five-man rotation. Obviously, I think there's some questions in this rotation. Talented, definitely, but definitely some questions as well coming off the years that Rodon and Cortez had, and Stroman also. But it was interesting that they went to Stroman. I think they just liked the deal. I mean, 2019, when he went to the Mets in trade, he was very disappointed not to go to the Yankees. So, he liked the idea of the Yankees. But at that time, Cashman came out and said that they didn't think he was a difference maker. They thought he'd be in the bullpen. And so we didn't think they had that high an opinion of his pitching, but I think they liked the deal. They liked the fact that he really wanted to come to New York. He's from Long Island. Some reason he wasn't that excited about going to the Mets. We heard that when he got that trade to the Mets, he aired out one of the Jays executives. I guess he felt that he was going to go to the Yankees, and he was quite surprised and disappointed to be going to the Mets. And here he's a free agent now, thanks to the opt-out, and gets to go where he wants to go, which is kind of what we felt that he wanted to do, but we just didn't know that the Yankees wanted to do this. I think they liked the deal, and they didn't like what they were hearing from the top tier guys.
Well, what's interesting, Jon, about this entire situation is there's that history you alluded to with Marcus Stroman
Yeah.
and the Yankees criticizing Brian Cashman, to your point, when he got traded to the Mets. So there's this philosophy, it feels like, was this a Yankees type move? Stroman obviously is a social media guy. He lets it all out there. There's this sense of we're willing to accept who you are as a person and as the social media warrior, because we know that we can get you as at a quality contract to be one of the starters on our rotation. I just want to know, Jon, what made the Yankees all of a sudden say this is okay for us to bring him in, even though despite the criticism to Brian Cashman, who is signing Marcus Stroman, it's like, oh, we're all good. Is it just the price point? Like that was okay for us?
Yeah.
That the quality of we're getting a sub-4 career ERA guy, a guy who's a ground ball pitcher, despite struggling numbers at Yankee Stadium, it really only was like that 1 year in 2017. Is that what was enough for the Yankees to say, you know what, we can bring him in?
Yeah, they liked the deal, and they looked past those. I don't know, there was tweets or Instagram posts or what. I don't know, but we obviously have seen them. He criticized how the Yankees have performed, how they haven't been to the World Series since 2009. So that was really a hit on Cashman. I'm glad that Cashman overlooks what's said on Twitter, and he has a thick enough skin. So I haven't. Doesn't bother me. I mean, maybe if it's going to bother somebody, it's him. And obviously, it did not bother him enough to not do the deal. He obviously liked this deal. They obviously need pitching. I mean, look at what they've done so far this winter. Obviously, Soto trade, not going to regret that. You got one of the top 5 hitters in the game to combine with Judge, who in my mind is the best hitter in the game. So you have 2 of the top 5 hitters in baseball there. And so I get it, but certainly hurt their depth with the trade of King, Thorpe, Brito, and Vasquez in that deal. Obviously, we know they lost Montas and Severino. Both guys were hurt a lot, but still, that's a loss of depth. They were signed to 13 and 16 million respectively, so somebody thought they were going to be okay this year.
Right.
And it does not look like they have a lot of depth right now, and it looks like they've got a lot of question marks in that rotation. While talented, a lot of question marks.
Right. So that's the next part of this entire
Yeah.
discussion here is I wanted to hit with you is that a lot of Yankees fans reacted to last night's news with Stroman. It's like, is there anything else coming? Because we had heard the alluded interest from both parties, from Stroman and the Yankees. We're like, there's got to be another move here because Blake Snell is still out there. Jordan Montgomery's still out there. We've heard the trade market rumors with Dylan Cease. For you, John, when you're looking at this market and you're looking at the Yankees, are they still going to be active? I know you said they don't like the price points, but could they still hold and say maybe Snell's price point comes down, maybe a trade for Dylan Cease, the asking price comes down, or are they set with this rotation and the question marks that you had just discussed about what's going on with this rotation?
Oh, it was suggested to me last night that they could be done at this point in terms of the rotation. I mean, I kind of think they're going to continue to look around and see what can be done about that rotation because, I mean, you and I look at it and the fan looks at it and it just looks kind of iffy. I mean, to have 5 starters, 3 of whom were hurt for, quite a bit last year. Stroman's injuries, not that serious, right? He had this kind of mysterious rib injury, he had a couple other nagging things. He did come back at the end of the year and pitched a little bit for the Cubs, so that helps a bit. But he missed a lot of time after really a fantastic start, where he was an all-star at a 2.46 ERA through June. But questions there. Obviously, Rodon was terrible, and beyond terrible, he was injured a lot. And Cortez was injured for most of the year as well. So, 3 out of their 5 starters missed a good part of time. I mean, Stroman not as much as Cortez and Rodon, but and then you've got Clark Schmidt, who's looks like a very back end type pitcher at this point, and Weaver, who's just signed another depth piece. But it looks like Cole could really use some help. I mean, maybe Rodon will revert to good form, and maybe Cortez will go back to 2022. They were both fantastic a couple of years ago, maybe, but it looks like a lot of question marks to me. And still, there are guys out there, like you said. Snell's still out there, does not have a deal. I know they're far apart. Sometimes those gaps can be closed. They were last year with Rodon. Maybe Yankee fans regret that. Maybe the Yankees regret that. But, negotiations can improve and they can make progress. So, Montgomery, I do think I kind of agree with them that it looks like he'd prefer to be in Texas or somewhere else. Because, I mean, frankly, when the Yankees traded him, it was pretty clear they didn't see him as a top of the rotation starter. And he proved that he could be, obviously leading one of the key pieces, leading the Rangers to their first World Series win. So I don't think their chances are great there, but I mean, maybe they say they're done. Maybe they even think they might be done, but I got to think they got to stay in touch with Snell, stay in touch with Cease. Bieber, I think, is likely staying. Burns likely staying. Luzardo, there was no traction from what I heard there. So, I mean, there are a lot of possibilities. If they're all looked at as kind of long shots, you put them all together, though, maybe the whole thing isn't a long shot. Maybe they get one of them. Somehow they figure it out. But obviously, Snell would be fantastic. If you got Snell and Cole, the 2 defending Cy Young winners, then their rotation goes from iffy to great right away.
Yeah, it's just curious, John, because, we heard all offseason about the Yankees and how heavily invested they were in Yamamoto. And that was the guy they were willing to go all in for, spending a possible, the $300 million deal on him. But now all of a sudden you pull back after you don't get Yamamoto, and it's $18 million per year, 2 years for Stroman. We don't like the price point for Blake Snell. So it's curious why, and I get it. One Yamamoto's 25, but he hasn't pitched in the MLB before. So it's that curious decision of the Yankees saying we'll go all in for this guy, but the other guys we're not liking that price point right now. So
they're willing to spend $300 million, and then now they're only counting Weaver. They've spent $39 million. So do they have $261 million left? I mean, I think that would get you enough to sign Snell rather easily at this point.
Right.
I mean, he's going to get a big contract. I mean, I think that a comp would be like Strasburg, or certainly I would think $200 million. But it's not $261 million, which is kind of what they have left over. So, they definitely have the money. I think Hal Steinbrenner is willing to do it if they get a deal that they like. But right now, they're not hearing what they want to hear on the Snell front in terms of the dollars.
Real quick, just to tie up all the Yankees situation, could you see them heavy in the reliever market? Maybe Jordan Hicks and possibly, I know Josh Hader's out there. Is that a possibility, or is that really just not something the Yankees are looking to do?
Yeah, I could see them in the reliever market. That's another option. Maybe they like a deal they can do with Hader, and I can't be against that. He's terrific. Probably the
Yeah.
best closer in the game. So if they get him, that would help. But I mean, that rotation still, I mean, they're going to need a fantastic bullpen if that's their rotation, I think.
100%. And then let's move over to the other New York team, the New York Mets. This is a New York Post show. I just want to keep reemphasizing this. A lot of comments about, oh, they love talking the Yankees Mets. This is a New York Post show. But I love talking to you, obviously, about the locals, John. The New York Mets, they introduced Luis Severino, Harrison Bader this week. They signed Sean Manaea. We heard David Stern speak this week about the DH position as well. And we had talked about it on our last show. Could they address the DH still to give that bat protection behind Alonso in that lineup? It seems like David Stearns is kind of alluding to, we don't like the price points of what we're seeing out there, and we're kind of good where we're at, and we'll be happy with maybe a Vientos being our full-time DH this entire year. So, John, is that it for the Mets this offseason? Are they going to make any other moves heading into spring training?
Well, they're certainly going to add to that bullpen. The bullpen looks very, very thin right now. So I do think the bullpen, and certainly a left-hander. We had David Stearns on the podcast with Joel Sherman, the show, and it didn't sound like he was dying to get a designated hitter. I'm not sure Vientos would be full-time, but it would be Vientos and then mix and match. And I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but the positives to the DH guys who are out there are numerous. If you bring in JD Martinez, you finally have a guy to bat behind Pete Alonso and give him protection that he deserves in the lineup. Maybe he'll hit more home runs, or they'll have to pitch around him a little bit less if you get a JD Martinez. Same with Soler, who I think they've been in touch with as well. And then Justin Turner, who had another great year with Boston, would be a length in that lineup. I'm not sure he's the protection that maybe Soler or Martinez is, but he would certainly lengthen the lineup, and he'd give you another option at third base if Beatty got off to a slow start or didn't, had another, year like he had last year, at least at the beginning. I do think Beatty's a good prospect. I do think he's going to be a good player eventually, but obviously he's not coming off a good year. And, if you have an expectation that he's going to be an all-star or anything close to that this year, I think you're probably kidding yourself.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting to see what the Mets are willing to go in with this lineup and see how it's going to stack. And to your point, is a Justin Turner worth investing in and bringing him as protection for Alonso? We'll see. John, I want to bring this all home. Talk about the most disappointing team of the week. Who do you got?
I'm going to go to the Red Sox. I actually like some of their moves that they've made. I mean, Giolito could bounce back. I mean, I like Tyler O'Neill in the outfield. Vaughn Grissom, I think, is a good hitter for second base. We'll see if he can be an actual full-time second baseman. But, they're really not spending like you'd think the Boston Red Sox should spend off of 4 years, 3 of which in which they finished last place. I mean, this is a big market team with huge revenue. And, obviously they've won more titles than anybody in the last, in this century.
Yeah.
But they seem rather satisfied now, or maybe surprised by the deals that guys are getting, because they seem to be in on everybody, but not really paying the price that's necessary to sign anybody. They were, I guess, one of the finalists for Imanaga. They were in on Yamamoto. I assume they were in on Ohtani. They've basically been in on everybody, and right now they've been in on these hitters, and certainly JD Martinez was a star there for them, and Turner was very good for them, and Soler obviously could help. 3 guys we just talked about, and I'm not sure they're getting any of them. I think more likely right now they're looking at maybe a Tommy Pham or Randall Grichuk, somebody like that, maybe Kike Hernandez. So, I mean, they're acting like, a mid-market team at best, maybe even a small market team. And so even though I like the moves that they've made so far, off of 3 last place finishes in 4 years, they're disappointing.
They're disappointing, and they also made a pretty sizable trade, trading Verdugo to the New York Yankees as well. Can't forget about that.
Right?
Yes, and Chris Sale, you can't forget about that either. So it is curious to see where the Boston Red Sox are looking heading into the season. And it's a tough AL East. The Orioles are obviously still really good. The Yankees are trying to win it. The Blue Jays aren't going anywhere. So it's very curious to see those moves the Red Sox are making.
The Rays are usually good, even if I don't think they're going to be good. They're always good. So, yeah, they're up against 4 teams that are going to be well over 500. So they could be in for their 4th last place finish in 5 years. So thing with that team is, they're going to sell out basically anyway, right? So maybe that's, not motivating them. I would think the last place finishes would motivate them. They obviously did a great job. They broke the jinx. They did it 4 times. So can't really criticize that ownership and say that it's a bad ownership, but I don't know what they're doing now.
No, it's very curious. Jon, we appreciate you as always for going around the base with us, breaking down all the top stories in baseball, and hope you have a good one, man.
All right, same to you, Ryan. See you later.
See ya.